Hi, everybody. Welcome to Busy Living Sober. It is episode 302, 302 episodes. And today we're sponsored by SoberLink. And as we know, addiction is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. Nearly 15 million people in the US have an alcohol use disorder that's only alcohol. And this can be attributed to the stigma that surrounds addiction and how people don't want to talk about it. Well, Busy Living Sober, just like SoberLink, likes to talk about it. And SoberLink is striving to erase the stigma of alcohol addiction. Their remote alcohol monitoring tool has helped over 500,000 people to be more accountable in their sobriety. Their voluntary system encourages connection and honesty, which helps rebuild trust and maintain sobriety. I've teamed up with SoberLink to come up with a resource guide, tips for keeping busy living sober. Visit www.soberlink.com/BLS for Busy Living Sober to download the resource guide. And if someone you know or yourself can benefit from accountability for alcohol recovery, you'll also find a $50 promo code. So $50 off your first device. Again, that's www.soberlink.com/BLS for Busy Living Sober. So today, episode 302, and my topic today, not our topic, my topic today is sobriety versus not drinking. I have noticed recently and that there's a lot of people on social media that claim that they're sober. Sober is the new cool. And there's all these different things that say that they're sober, but in reality, are they sober or are they just not drinking? And you might be like, well, wait, what's the difference? And there's so many differences, and I'm not going to get into technical. I mean, I could get into technicals, but I'm also going to get into more of my opinion. So I just want to also throw out this caveat that this is my opinion and my opinion only, the opinion of Elizabeth Chance, Busy Chance. This is my opinion, not the opinion of anybody else. And I want to put that out there. These are, again, my opinions. They're not someone else's opinions. They're my opinions. And some of them have come from hearing other people, and this is my opinion. And take with it what you want, take what you need, leave the rest. Some of it you might find not it doesn't resonate with you whatsoever, and that's okay. Again, this is my opinion. And people ask me all the time, you got sober. How did you get sober? What did you do to get sober? And I got sober by going to 12 steps. And you might say, well, why did you do that? And the reason I did that was that, for one, I knew that I wanted to be surrounded by people that also didn't drink. And I didn't want people that just didn't drink. I wanted people that were having fun. I wanted people that were living a program, kind of. I wanted to have a new set of tools in my toolbox. I wanted a new way of living my life, because for so long, for 37 years, I'd been living life on my will and not anybody else's will. And I didn't have I've been raised with religion, and I got a lot from the churches that I was going to, but I wanted a little bit more. I had no idea what I was getting into when I went to 12 step. I'd heard about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was also kind of very scared about it because it had this total mystical kind of thing about it, in that, not good mystical, in that it was like a cult. People said, oh, it's a cult, you don't want to join a cult. It had all these negative connotations, but it also had this mystique that it was like, well, these people have been doing it for a really long time, and obviously it works for a lot of people, so I want to try it. And so I did. And it has been, it's something that is so different than just not drinking. Um, Drinking is a symptom, especially if you're an alcoholic. If you're just a heavy drinker, and you've decided that you don't want to drink anymore because you don't like who you are, but you're not an alcoholic, I get that too. And you're like, well, what's the difference? I think that when you're an alcoholic, my opinion, when you're an alcoholic, it's gone past this point of like being able to control it. You get to the place where you're like, I can't really have one. I have this phenomenon of craving that I want to have more. I black out. I do things that I don't like. I have really no control anymore. I don't like myself. Um, there's this whole thing of like, am I an alcoholic? Am I not an alcoholic? And I still remember that day, almost 16 years ago now, that I guess this is my 16th year and I'm going to have 16 year. I don't know. Anyway, not to semantics is all really that is, but I still remember that day of driving and going, am I an alcoholic? Am I not an alcoholic? Um, my perception of an alcoholic was somebody who was homeless, didn't have any money, was on Skid Row, was living under the freeway. It was not someone that was successful. It was not someone that actually had lost. Um, I didn't think you could have not lost everything and been an alcoholic. I thought you had to get to the very, very, very bottom of the elevator shaft and to be an alcoholic. I did not think that, I didn't think that you could be like a normal member of society being alcoholic. But in reality, I've learned through the years that, yes, many people that are alcoholics still have a job, still have cars in their driveway. They still haven't gotten to that place where, and I want to put this word yet in because I think it's a huge thing is yet. Um, People have not gotten to that place where there's a lot of people that haven't lost everything, but they still are an alcoholic. So for me, I knew because I was a blackout drinker from a very young age, meaning I don't remember. I would wake up the next day going, oh my God, what did I do? What did I say? Where did I go? I'd go out and say, I'm just going to have one dirty martini. And I've never had one dirty martini in my life. And I'd overdo it every time, every time. So that idea of whether or not I was an alcoholic, I kind of knew I was. I knew that the way my relationship was with alcohol made me do things that I would not normally do, right? I was a blackout. I got myself into situations that if I were sober, I wouldn't have gotten myself into. Um, there was alcoholism in my family. So that was also another thing that helped me because I knew that other people in my family were alcoholics and that I wasn't alone in this and that it is a family disease. So I knew that all these things clicked for me that said, oh, wait a minute, you are an alcoholic. And I think I feel very blessed that today in 2022, being an alcoholic does not have that horrible connotation that it did for my grandmothers. But for me, it was like, okay, in the very beginning, I was so ashamed to be one that I've told you guys this before. I coined the phrase sober, not ashamed because I had so much shame and I didn't want to be an alcoholic because again, the negative connotation, but I was not a heavy drinker. I was an alcoholic. I can say that with full sincerity. And so the only thing that I knew that would work for me because I'd read about what was the best way to treat alcoholism, and that was going to Alcoholics Anonymous. So joining this thing. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to join it. And I have been in my time of being sober these 16 years, there have been times that I have only been not drinking and not working a program. I can say that with full honesty. And you're going to say, well, what's the difference? And I can tell you this. Being sober is about having a relationship with something that's bigger than yourself. And you might say, well, I don't believe in God. And that's okay. You can believe in the trees. You can believe in Mother Earth. You can believe in Buddha. You can believe in Allah. You can believe in a doorknob. I mean, something that's bigger than you. You can believe in the sun. You can believe in something bigger than you. When we are dry drunks, I think that we go and we're like, oh, I'm going to go get my near beer and I'm going to go get my other stuff that still has alcohol in it. It might be a minimal amount, but you're like, I'm going to go drink this because it's going to make me feel better. Because we have this hole inside of us, a hole that's filled with sadness, remorse, regret, despair, trauma. And you're like, trauma? I don't have trauma. And the reality is, I think that some of us, at least for me, I always thought that, and I hate that I keep saying that word reality, but I'm going to say it anyway. Some of us believe that trauma only was, at least for me, I thought that trauma, if I had been through trauma, that meant that I had to have been through a war. That meant that I had to participate in World War One. I had to be in Vietnam because, when I was growing up, like the people who had battled trauma were definitely people that had spent time in ditches and over in different foreign countries and were doing things. And it was traumatic to watch what they had watched. But trauma for us can happen when we're a little kid. Trauma can be, the way our parents talked to us, what we had experienced as a child, what we had experienced by spouses, by siblings, by friends, by other human beings, by someone of the opposite sex, of someone of the same sex. Trauma is the way we feel on the inside, this sadness that's inside of us that we can't help, that's been there for a very long time. And we don't want to look at it. We don't want anybody to know about it. We're ashamed of it. It's scary. It's dark. It's so dark. And this hole in our soul is so dark, right? It's so dark. And we can't stop but going back and picking at it. We're like, if I go look at that, oh, I feel out of control. I need to pick up a drink because I don't want to feel. That's it. I don't want to feel. Now, if you're dealing with not drinking by filling yourself up with exercise, near beer, other drinks that aren't things that are not really getting to the core of it, it's still going to stay there, right? If you're just saying, I'm not going to drink, but I'm going to fill myself up with this, or I'm going to eat a lot of food, or I'm going to go exercise to the point that I'm like so skinny, or I'm going to go to this place where I'm just constantly like, life just has to be about balance for me. Sobriety for me is about balance. I have this program, the 12 steps. It talks about in the 12 steps of one being powerless. I'm powerless over everything. I'm powerless over what's going to happen today. I might have a list that I have that I want to get done, but in reality, that if I don't get the list done, is the world going to come up with access? No, no. Am I going to be okay? Yes, if I don't have the list completed. Some people are so wound tight that they just want to hold on so tight that if they're in control, I'm in control, I'm in control, I'm in control. But you're not in control. I'm here to tell you, you are not in control. You might try to be in control of what you're eating. That drives you nuts too, right? I don't want to eat this. I want to eat that. I don't want to eat this. I don't want to get heavy. I want to stay skinny. I want to do this. I mean, we sit here and we worry about that. And food addiction is real and it's so hard. Food addiction, I have to say that. I just have to say that because I know people that battle it and that I loved so much, and it is horrible. And because you have to always eat food. And but it takes over your mind, right? You're constantly thinking about, when am I going to get enough? Oh my God, I ate too much. When am I going to get enough? I ate too much. I want to make myself sick. I ate too much. I did this. I'm beating myself up because I ate something that I don't want to have eaten. And the reality is that you're okay. So many people just need to know that they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. We don't know what's going to happen. You got to be okay with that. You got to get over that thing of like, I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to be scared anymore because I'm not in control. No one is in control. I've said this, and I don't know if I've said it on here, but everybody wants everything to be perfect. What their idea of perfect, I'm doing air quotes if you're not watching me on YouTube or on my website, air quotes of you want everything to look so good, right? You want it to be idyllic, like it is maybe on a television show that you watch or on a social media thing that you watch, and you want your life to look like somebody else's. And you're like, but it doesn't, it's out of control. I'm not comfortable. It doesn't look like the way I want it to look like. So I'm going to spin out of control over it. And when you work a program and you identify the fact that you're powerless over everything. For one, I identify the fact that I was powerless over alcohol. I am like alcohol and me. I can still remember today standing in a bar, walking into a bar. I remember walking into this bar that's changed names like 18 times. And I walked into the bar and I said, I'm only going to have one dirty martini. And I woke up the following day and I'm like, I did it again. I did it again. I had one, and instead I had 47. And it might not technically have been 40, but I don't know how many it was. It didn't really matter because once I have some and it touches my lips, it gets in here, gets on my tongue, and it goes into my body and I ingest it and it hits the receptors in my brain, then I'm off to the races. I have a phenomenon of craving. I have this disease that tells me I don't have a disease, but I have this disease that if I drink alcohol, my entire brain chemistry changes. And I want more and more and more and more. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that. I can get that way with mostly it's just with that, but with cigarettes, if I were to smoke cigarettes, that's how I would get. Again, I haven't smoked a cigarette in a while, but when I used to smoke, I would be like, oh my God, I want more. I want more. I want more. And I have this, I am powerless once I ingest it in my body. I want more and more and more. That's number one. That's where I'm powerless. That's like, if I admit that I've got a power problem and that there's something bigger than me that I have to trust, that will restore my sanity. That takes me into step two. It's going to restore my sanity. I feel really lucky because I've had a God in my life my entire life. I feel very blessed that I've had an idea of God. And as I've gotten older and where I am today with, I'm going to be going to that meditation. I'm taking my, yoga course. And yoga is so much more about the way we are supposed to get closer to God. That's what yoga is about in the beginning. It's about getting closer to God. It is not about being able to stand on your head. It is not about being able to get what poses you're going to get to. It's really about getting closer to God and breathing and knowing that everything's inside of you. Everything is okay inside of you. It's where when we go to fear and regret, everything's not okay, right? Because none of us have a time machine that I know of, except for Michael Fox in that movie. What was it called? Anyway, Beyond Thunder. What is that? Anyway, when he had that DeLorean that he went back in time with. But none of us have a time machine. Okay. So if we're constantly living in regret of yesterday or fear of tomorrow, I always say this, we're doing the splits and we're shitting on today, pissing on today. I hate to say that, and I hate to be crass, which I just was, but if we're constantly going to yesterday or tomorrow and we're unhappy, we're not living in the day. We're not living in the moment. We can't find peace. Everything's constantly out of control. We're beating ourselves up for something that happened yesterday that we can't go back and change. And we can't worry about tomorrow because it's not here yet. We have to worry about today, this moment. How do we get into this moment? Breathing, wiggling your toes. I talk about it all the time, wiggling your toes, getting into this moment. It takes practice. It takes time. But if you're just filling yourself with other things and you're not getting into this practice of breathing and getting into today and being okay for today, you're constantly going to be wanting to fill that hole with other stuff. The other stuff being the fake fear, the makeup, the material stuff. It's not about that. I can tell you that I will go and I will buy something and you get this high, right? You get this high because you went shopping and you bought this fabulous handbag that maybe is a designer that is like, makes you feel like you're somebody else because you're carrying this bag and that makes you cool, right? And then you walk into the party and you're like, oh my God, I love your bag. Is that a da da da? And everybody thinks you're something because you've got this amount of money that you can afford this bag, but does it really change who you are on the inside? No. You're still the same person that you were. You've got those jeans on that you've been like, I want to fit into those fancy jeans that cost $400. I'm going to walk into that bar or I'm going to walk into that party and everybody's going to think I'm something because I fit into these jeans that are this label. It doesn't change you. You're still the same person you were when you didn't have those jeans. Are you ever going to be skinny enough? Are you ever going to be okay? No, that has nothing to do. We focus so much today on the outside, right? I mean, I'm guilty of it right now. Before I did this, I put my makeup on, I did my hair, even though it looks kind of yucky, but whatever. Um, I wanted to look okay in this video, so I did do some things that I thought were going to help me look better. But if that's an outside job, we keep working on the outside, the inside's going to stay the same. And all of our thoughts, all of our fear, all of our thoughts of feeling inadequate, all of our thoughts of feeling less than, all of our thoughts of being judged, all of our thoughts of comparing other people, that's all inside stuff. That's all inside stuff. It doesn't matter if you go and you put the handbag and you feel like, oh my God, I just walked into the party. I have the same handbag. I have the same golf score as you do. I have the same tennis thing as you do. I still am going to inside feel inadequate if I haven't dealt with the feelings that I have and that sense of liking yourself. That sense of being like, I'm acknowledging the fact that I have a relationship with alcohol that is not good. I black out. I do things I don't want to do. I drive my car when I really shouldn't drive my car. And that stuff too is like the insanity, the total insanity of going, I've got this when you have nothing. And that takes humility to say I have nothing. I'm nothing. I am just trying to do the best. I'll talk about 3 and then I'm like almost at 30 minutes here and I don't want to keep going and going and going. I can keep going. If you guys want me to, write to me and tell me if you want me to keep going on the steps, but I'm gonna stop at 3 because 2 is a big thing to go through. 1, 2, and 3, I think are like the cha-cha. Like you've got to get those and they could take 5 years, it could take 10 years. They could take 16 years. It could take 20 years. But it's kind of constantly working on this stuff. Sobriety is working on this stuff. It's not trying to fill your hole with other stuff. It doesn't matter. If you're not okay on the inside and you're spinning out of control, that's a problem, right? And social media is not going to make you feel better. Watching these people do other things is not going to make you feel better. You know, it was I was talking to a friend of mine's son. I've never met him in real life, but he's like really spiritual and so cool. And he goes out to Sedona all the time, which I was just in Sedona and it was amazing. God, talk about a place that's really spiritual. But anyway, not to whatever, not to go down that rabbit hole that I could go down. But I was talking to my friend's son, and he was talking about social media and how the people who developed social media did it so that it was addictive, right? So you get addicted to it. And it's probably one of the most addictive things. I bet in the kids, and I see kids in restaurants, so crazy how many parents put their kids in front of a screen and they have their headphones. I was just having brunch the other day with a friend, and there were all these little kids and they all had their own screen with their own headphones, and they're not talking to their parents. They're sitting there on these screens and they're not participating. They're just like this. No wonder our kids don't know how to communicate. Can't learn how to communicate if you're constantly on a screen. You don't learn how to do, you don't learn manners by being on a screen. You don't learn that you're supposed to have your fork on the left and your spoon and your knife on the right. You don't learn that you're supposed to put your napkin on your lap. You don't learn how grown-ups talk to each other. You don't learn how to participate in society if you're constantly in a different ulterior universe, which is on the screen. It's funny because one of my kids is totally into it. She's totally into this ulterior universe that she likes to go to because she doesn't want to feel the feelings she has of inadequacy inside of her. She doesn't want to deal with it. She doesn't want to address it. And I can sit here and tell her to, but she's not going to do it till she wants to. But taking this time to really get to that place inside of yourself where you go, okay, I'm powerless. I have to have something bigger than me. And if not, I'm going to be crazy because we keep going to these things that are on the outside that are going to make us feel better. And it's insane, right? Like how many pairs of jeans can you own? How many times can you work out to try to feel better, but you're still that same person on the inside? Doesn't matter. You can work out 500 billion times. You're still that same person on the inside. The outside is not going to make you feel better. It can tell you it's not. Maybe momentarily you're gonna be like, oh, I feel really good because I fit into those jeans. Feel that way all the time, but I still go back to that inadequacy inside of myself because it's never enough. I can't fill this hole inside of myself with material stuff. I can't. I've tried. I tried to fill it with booze, didn't work. Cigarettes, didn't work. Shopping, didn't work. Exercise, didn't work. It's literally having this sense of something that's bigger, that I'm okay. I have to get that from myself. I share it with others so that I can keep it. But I have to realize that there's something bigger than me and something that knows that I'm okay. I'm okay. And step 3 is literally about letting go. So 1, I'm powerless. 2, I got to have something bigger than me. And 3, I got to let go. And letting go is really, really hard. It's really hard. I want everything to look the way I want it to look. I want to know that if I do A, B, and C, the outcome's going to be exactly what I envision it to look. I'm going to again tell a personal story here. So I have a child that, and I've mentioned this before, that that I wanted his life to look a certain way. I did certain things to, I thought, ensure that his life was going to look a certain way. And he doesn't want it to look that way. Can you imagine? Your kid doesn't want what you want their life to look like. You want their life to be a certain way, and they aren't doing it. And it gets you angry, and it gets you sad, and it gets you frustrated because you went to this place like, I did everything to give you this life, to have this kind of life that I want it to look like. And then it doesn't look like that. And then you feel sad, and you feel frustrated, and you feel out of control, and you feel judged by friends, and you feel inadequate, and you feel like a loser, and you feel like a bad mom, and you feel like you didn't do anything right, and you feel out of control. And the reality is that we do the best we can do in the moment. If they're not meant, or they want to go do something else, it's really not a big deal. Because if we went back and we said, well, we have this God, or we have this whatever we're going to call it, we have this sunshine, we have this Mother Nature, we have whatever we do. If we have it, don't our kids have it? Wow. He has a God, it's not me. He's going to do whatever he's going to do. I know that I did the best job I can do. And I think we all do the best job we can do. I think everyone out there listening to this does the best job they can do. If you're dad, mom, whatever you identify as, you do the best job you can do. Maybe you drank too much when they were little. Maybe you drove a car. Maybe certain things happened and it was too hard for you to stomach to get sober. Whatever it may be, if you get to the place of peace in your heart and your soul, and you know what, I did the best I could do. And then say, I love you and I wish you the best, and truly mean it. It's not so much of a big deal. In fact, you kind of are excited for them that they go and they're doing this. It's amazing that they have the strength and the courage to do that. I mean, that takes a lot of chutzpah not to do what your parents want you to do, right? It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of self-love in a lot of ways. It's like, you know what? They're willing to do whatever they're willing to do, and it's no reflection on you. Getting sober is a journey. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes being with somebody, that can help you along the way. Have it be a sponsor, a fellow traveler, finding somebody in your life that you can be honest with, finding somebody in your life that isn't going to judge you, finding someone that loves you unconditionally. And it takes time. And it takes time. And sometimes you might screw up and pick somebody that's not actually going to be good for you. And then you're going to move on to the next person. And no one will stay in your life forever. Things will change. You will change. You will outgrow people. They will outgrow you. You will get to a place that's uncomfortable. You will move on, but find somebody that you can be you with, and know that you can tell all your deep, dark secrets to, and they are still going to love you. It's taken time for me to find those people along my journey. And I've had some people come in for a season and they leave for a reason, and that's okay. But finding somebody that you can be honest with and that can be a friend, and it's hard today. It's hard today. You're not going to find, I don't know if you'll find them on social media. Maybe you will. I have no idea. But finding somebody that you can meet with and have coffee with and go for a walk with, that you truly trust and love, like that you both have this mutual understanding, and you can set boundaries. You can do all these crazy things. I'm not going to go into that because I'm already at 30 minutes. I just want you to know that this all takes time. Don't do this alone. Find somebody. You can always reach out to me. It's Elizabeth at elizabethchance.com, or Bizzy, Bizzy, at busylivingsober.com, BUSY, livingsober.com. But know that you're enough. That this pain that you have inside of you, you can let go. You can let go. And it's going to take time, and you're going to go back, and you're going to go forth, and you're like, I'm a piece of shit, but you're not a piece of shit. Forgiving yourself takes a long time, but work at it. Work at it. You're worth it. Take care of you. Take care of you. Know that you're worth all the time it takes, all the time it may take. That we're all on this journey together. I'm going to mention this again. These were my opinions only. They are not the opinions of anybody else. Well, they could be, but I'm not God by any stretch of the imagination. This is just what's worked for me. And I hope that me sharing it will help you, and to know that you are not alone, and you can do this one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time. Some days it's 1 hour at a time. But take the time to figure out what makes you tick, what makes you tick, what makes you okay. If you have to call a friend, my daughter just called me the other day. She's like, I just needed you to tell me that I'm okay. I'm like, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. You're going to learn from it, and you're going to get through this, and you're never going to do that again. And that's what it's all about. Don't do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, because it's going to always end up the same way it always does. Sorry, it just is, because that's what craziness is. I was crazy for a long time. I still am crazy at times, but I have tools today in my toolbox that I can use. And so get some tools in your toolbox that you can use. And you can't get those by yourself. You can't get those drinking near beer. You can't get those watching, hours and hours of endless Facebook and Instagram. You can always get those out. I can only get them if you get quiet. Fall in love with you. Love you guys. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, share it with your friend, and always know that you are not alone. And until next time, keep getting busy, living sober. Take care, everybody. Bye.